Thank you, sir.
If you're handing them out, I'll take one.
Direction you put
Okay,
them
I'll take
in?
one for the, thank you.
Probably not.
Is this already double?
Yeah, we've already
Double?
doubled.
Okay.
Now it's contaminated on.
As much as you talk, Frank, you need triple.
You missing one? All right.
Well, I have an N95 with a cloth, double cloth over it.
Do you
so I
really?
I have plenty.
Chair, when you're ready.
If I keel over, just take the black one off. That'll be good.
All right, we're going to call this meeting to order. This is the February 2nd, 4 o'clock CRB meeting and Historic Preservation Board.
Oh, man.
Yes, can we get a roll call, please?
Chair Lewis,
Yep.
Vice Chair Campenny,
Here.
Board Member Dooley,
Here.
Board Member Makeimson,
Here.
Board Member Schroth, Board Member Waka,
Here.
Board Member Wilson.
Yes.
All right, can we all stand up, face the flag, and give the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, today we're going to, next item on the agenda is an approval of the minutes from the December 1st, 2020 minutes. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Any seconds?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next matter before the board is approval of the agenda. Today we have one matter before the board. That's the CRA Annual Report 2020.
So moved.
Seconded? Any seconds?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Moving on, any general comments from the public?
Hello, public.
Seeing no general comments from the public, we're going to move on. Any general comments from the board members unrelated to the agenda today? All right, I'd like to welcome the new board member, and I assume we have another one as well. Is that a Nicholas Schroth? And he'll be here next meeting?
I didn't expect him today, to be honest with you.
I thought he was coming today.
Okay. Well, we welcome Nicholas. And to the other board members, I apologize I wasn't able to be at the last joint meeting.
Well,
We
that's
had
why
a
you're chair.
Yeah, that's right. We had a little bit of a COVID contact a couple weeks ago that we just had to make sure we quarantined and did our due diligence, so I apologize for not being available. All right, now we're going to move on to the next matter. This is the CRA Annual Report.
Thank you. Panal Gandhi Savda, CRA Administrator, for the record. This is a presentation of our annual report with all the CRA activities and financial statement for previous fiscal year 2020. We are required to submit this to the state by March 31st of every year. So around this time, staff brings forward the presentation and the report for board to review. We did publish a notice in the newspaper if anybody was interested in reviewing the report. Once the board approves, the CRB and the CRA board approves the report, it will be submitted and filed with the state, the county, and all the taxing authority. You probably noticed in the report that the financial statement, it's an unaudited version because we were not ready with the audited version because of the pandemic and some of the computer upgrades per our finance department. So I did provide the unaudited version, but I will update this when it's completed, and it's expected to be completed before March. And if the board wants to see it, I'll also email it to you. So this does not reflect the actual expenses for fiscal year 2020, but throughout the report, I have noted some of the expenses related to the projects, so it is provided throughout the report. The revenue was $2.23 million that was deposited into the CRA's trust fund in fiscal year 2020. And the activities that the revenue was used for was things like administrative expenses, like professional engineering services for design, any indirect costs, private aids to private organization for our incentive programs such as the Business Improvement Grant, Paint Up Program, Tram operation, capital projects such as the Frazier Crescent Neighborhood Improvement Project that we completed in fiscal year 2020, and final designs for our Seminole Street project, Riverside Park neighborhood project, and gateway signage. And also, we are currently working on the conceptual design from MLK, so that was also part of the expense report. And we purchased property adjacent to the Wells Fargo building in fiscal year 2020. I will go over briefly all the different activities and projects for fiscal year 2020. Like I mentioned, the CRA did purchase 2 parcels adjacent to the Wells Fargo building, which is going to be the Wells Fargo building is going to be the future home of the City Hall site. So we do have the 2 adjacent properties as shown in blue. And staff will look at potential redevelopment activities on that site to spur additional activities on East Ocean Boulevard. The board last year also approved Mural Grant for the mural at the Dehan building right by Colorado and Osceola. That mural is in progress, and we expect that to be completed in a couple of months. We added wayfinding signs along Colorado. You might have seen it by the 555 building, and also one by Colorado and MLK Boulevard. This is to promote our businesses along Colorado, and it's the same signs that we have in Old Downtown District. We also amended our outdoor dining program to limit our outdoor dining program to 8% of the total available spaces in downtown. We changed some of our guidelines to allow restaurants to provide outdoor dining, permanent outdoor dining, considering the current situation. And we recently completed installing the outdoor dining for the Gafford building, and we've had inquiry from Riverwalk Cafe and Sneaky Tiki. The Valley program was implemented last year. It was a pilot program that we implemented during the peak season last year, but the program did terminate early because of the pandemic. So we really just had 3 months to collect the data, and the program did seem to be successful starting in January on Fridays and Saturdays. So we will want to revisit this if the board is interested in implementing this again next year once we get through this pandemic. For the 3-month period, there was a revenue sharing of approximately $1,000. The Tram System, this program is actually implemented by the Public Works Department, but the CRA contributes funds to this microtransit system. They were successful at getting grants for the historic tours. There were some setbacks, obviously, due to the pandemic. The ridership did reduce by almost more than half in fiscal year 2020, but they did encourage ridership through the historic tours, and they, like I mentioned, they were successful at getting grants, the historic tour grants for fiscal year 2020 for $12,000, and then for 21, 22 for $35,000. Since the implementation of the Business Improvement Grant Program in 2016, we have awarded grants to 30 businesses for facade improvements. In fiscal year 2020, we gave awards to 5 applicants, and they do have to provide a matching contribution, private investment for the improvements, and which totals about $188,000 of private investment and improvements within the CRA for the 5 businesses that did receive the grant. And then we continue to promote our incentive programs such as the Real Estate Development Accelerator Pilot Program and our Paint Up program in the CRA. We allocated $3,000 for the Paint Up program last year, and we received 4 applications. So 4 homeowners did participate in that program last year. Hull Lane Home is a historic home. It was the 2nd structure to be added to our Stewart Historic Register list. And we dedicated a historic marker for the structure in November of last year. The sign is located on 5th Street near the sidewalk. One of our infrastructure project was completed in Frazier Crescent neighborhood, and It included, we redesigned the McPherson Street into one-way street, added concrete sidewalk. We also completed the missing link of sidewalk on 7th Street and pervious concrete for two-way street on 6th Street. Total cost for the construction and construction management was approximately $375,000. The Riverside Park Neighborhood Improvement Project, this is currently in the design phase. We expect to do the neighborhood outreach for this program once we have the 60% design completed, probably in the next few months. This is a two-phase project. The first phase is the area shown in the blue highlight. That's a city-initiated project. So once the design is completed, we do expect to start that construction for that section before the end of this year. And then the second phase, which is the rest of the neighborhood, that one will start construction in 2024 because we received TAP grant, and that TAP grant is for fiscal year 2024. So that will be completed partially with the grant and CRA TIF. The Federal Highway Median Improvement Project, this project was supposed to be completed last year, but because of the bridge repairs, this was postponed. We're meeting this month. We have a pre-construction meeting coming up this month. So we are going to start initiating this project, and we expect to go into construction in March or April. The design for undergrounding of utilities is underway. We've identified locations for transformer boxes for the undergrounding of the utilities. We've met with private owners for an easement that we'll need for these boxes. And we've requested cost estimate from FP&L, Comcast, and AT&T, and the estimated cost for the FPL conversion is about $90,000. And then we're still waiting for the cost for AT&T and Comcast. I do plan to bring this item before the board in April. The consultants will be here, so we'll be able to provide you with details about the plan, cost, timeline for this project. And this is part of that undergrounding. Once the undergrounding is completed, we're going to be doing the streetscape improvements. We're at 90% design for this project. We've already done the public outreach to get input on the 60% design and 90% design. We've had public meetings inviting all the downtown businesses. We've also presented at the Main Street meeting. And like I said, we'll be presenting this to the CRB and CRA board in April for your feedback. Martin Luther King Street Complete Project. This is in the conceptual design phase. The scope of the work is from Dixie Highway to Tarpon Avenue. It'll consist of multi-use paths for pedestrian and bicyclists, on-street parking, landscaping, and modified travel lanes. We do expect to bring this to the community in the next few months before we move forward with the final design for the project. And as we move forward with the final design at 30% or 60%, that will come before the community also for feedback. For the Guy Davis Park improvements, we're currently in the negotiation process with the selected firm to establish the scope of work. This is going to be a two-phase project. During the initial phase, we're going to develop a conceptual plan and engineer's probable cost for the construction. We are going to have to do a budget amendment because this was not budgeted for fiscal year 2021. So this will come before you in the next couple of months with the scope of work and a budget amendment for our staff to move forward with the conceptual design. The sidewalk improvements on Florida Street from Johnston Avenue to Dixie Highway and a portion of Dixie Highway, that is expected to go under construction early this year. The design's already completed. The bid process has been completed. So we should see some construction on those two roads pretty soon. The high visibility crosswalks, you saw this presentation last month. We are going to be installing the crosswalks next month. At the CRA meeting, the board did bring up sharrows. They wanted staff to look into adding sharrows on some of the neighborhood streets. And we will also be installing those as part of this project. There were a lot of redevelopment activities within the CRA last year. The report provides assessed value of some of these properties before we went into construction and what the value is during construction. Some of these projects did not receive their CEO prior to the 2020 tax roll, so you might not see a significant increase in the assessed value on the property's appraiser site, but we do expect to see a much higher increase in 2021 tax roll. The River House condominiums, this is on Osceola Street. It consists of 20 residential units, and this is expected to be completed and receive their CO by March. The West Ocean townhomes, these are the two buildings with a total of 8 residential units. One of the building already has received their CO, and the second one is expected to be getting their CO early this year. This is right across from Shepherd Park. Harbor Chase ALF is a 152 adult living facility. They received their temporary CO and is expected to receive their full CO again early this year when the entire work is completed. The Roasted Record Coffee Shop, they moved into our old floral shop and renovated the building and really created that urban culture in our arts and entertainment district. Southwind Motel, this was converted to 19 residential apartment, which is a great example of adaptive reuse of a rundown motel without having to construct new apartments to meet our housing demand in the city. The CRA also applied for the Community Development Block Grant Program for the Housing Rehabilitation Program to provide assistance to low and moderate income homeowners to rehab their home. The notice of the grant, we expect to get a notice probably in March or April, so we'll find out if we receive the grant or not, and we've applied for $750,000. The downtown kiosk, we installed a 3-sided kiosk by the River Walk stage in downtown. This helps to promote downtown activities for visitors, and we're planning to install another one by Duffy's and then one in the Arts and Entertainment District this year. We installed a high visibility crosswalk on Dixie Highway by Sailor's Return Restaurant, but due to all the construction and repairs to the bridge, portion of this sidewalk or crosswalk was removed, but we plan to redo the sidewalk or crosswalk when we do the eastward crosswalks. The Gateway Triangle Master Plan, that's underway. We've conducted a community survey via SurveyMonkey. We've also had meetings with the board members, commissioners, one-on-one interviews. And if you haven't participated in it, just let me know. I can get the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council to schedule a meeting with you. So we want to get input from all the board members and community for the Triangle District area. And we're planning to have a vision workshop at the end of this month or beginning of March, and you will be informed of that. And the completion of master plan is expected to be done by July, and that'll be presented to the board. And we're wrapping up on the conceptual plan for the gateway signs. This will consist of 2 family of signs. Each option will include Welcome to Stewart sign, Downtown Stewart sign, and signs at the entrances of our various districts, such as Historic District, Arts and Entertainment District, and the proposed Triangle District. So that way we have a consistency, and we create branding for our city by having these uniform signs. The proposal will include potential locations where these signs will go. And the two concepts are, we are presenting to Main Street and downtown businesses, and we'll have public meetings before we bring it to the board for feedback. And so you can expect to see the conceptuals in June or July for the gateway signs. And we continue to work with Main Street and DBA to promote downtown and the future growth of our downtown. The downtown events and businesses, as you know, were impacted due to COVID. The city passed an order to allow temporary outdoor dining via special event permit. We also waived the monthly fees for permanent outdoor dining for 5 months, and we waived the annual rental fees for Wayfinding Sign program to help our businesses in downtown. And in 2020, Historic Downtown Stewart was the winner of the Great Places in Florida Award, organized by the American Planning Association. And this concludes my presentation. Any questions?
Thank you.
I have a couple.
I see some questions from Mr. Campenny. Mr. Campenny?
With Seminole Street, when do we do our beautification regardless of when they finish the project?
When,
We have beautification for Seminole. And we were holding off until they built the building.
right.
When are we holding off until, when will we start regardless?
So, yeah, that project is kind of driven by when that project will go into construction. I know that they're planning to submit their building permits in the next month or two. So as soon as we know we have the building permits approved, they'll kind of give me a better timeline of their project, and then I'll schedule my project based on that. Because we want them to be substantially completed before we move in. So we're hoping if they can get started, hopefully by April or something, give them a year, so maybe by next 2022, like by summer 2022, we can get started.
Okay, and then my other question is, now that Azul sold, and it sold for double its assessment, when does that come in? Maybe Mike can answer that better, I guess. When does that come in where we'll get more money in the CR?
Well, my understanding of it is the property appraiser will get the closing documents, this month or whenever it is. So on the property appraiser's records, it will show that number. Now, normally that would then be,
A year, right?
well, and on top of that, taxes are retrospective. So the new assessed value should be in November of '21, due for April of '22 to pay '21 taxes. But I don't know if it'll be '21 taxes that catch it, or if it'll be even the following year that catch it.
Well, we'll be looking at about another $7 million in the CRA as a result of that sale, correct?
I don't know that they will do the full value of the sale as the new full assessed value, but yes, that's what it should be. I mean, the answer to your question is if the market supported the price, then I guess that's the price. And if that's the price, then that should be its assessed value.
Okay. And then for Guy Davis, we already approved, we didn't approve a plan, but we approved a price. So will that price for Guy Davis in 2 installments, it's already in our budget, correct?
No, that's not in our budget. Once we get the engineer probable cost, we'll present that to the board, and then we'll look for direction as to how we want to pay for that, whether
What
it's
did we
bond
approve?
or.
David?
You guys previously approved moving forward with the conceptual design. However, that has changed after I received some feedback from the commissioners because they were no longer inclined to decommission Sailfish Ball Field. That was a major change in the project, to send it back out to RFP, which is why it's taking so long. They just awarded the RFP for the new concept plan, which is a multi-purpose field at that location instead of baseball field, which would be a field that has, can play lacrosse, soccer, football on it, along with some enhanced community attraction area to the location, new bathrooms, and a new enhanced playground as well, and then the entrance and parking off of the A1A side. So the two-phase approach that Fidel was speaking of is that it would come back for a budget amendment for the current CRA fund balance to pay for phase one out of the fund balance, which is basically the overall design and the engineer's cost to get us to the point of having an engineer's probable cost. We are looking at trying to stay within the budget of around $5 million in that, and that was what was kind of put out in the market when we did the RFP. And then when that comes back and we actually have the real design of it, that'll come back before you and the CRA for approval and for funding. And we're anticipating it being us requesting for whatever grants we can get, as well as a bond issue.
Thank you.
All right. Just to clear the record, I'm seeing no public here, no comments from the public. Is there any further comments from the
There
board?
might be a Zoomer.
Is there anybody from Zoom? Okay. Seeing no comments from the public, no comments from Zoom.
I'll move acceptance.
Hold on 1 second, I
It's
believe.
okay, I'll second acceptance and have a question.
Second sentence so we can discuss it.
The new building we bought on East Ocean, you mentioned City Hall.
Yes.
Any idea in your frame of mind when you're talking about that?
About moving to that building? So the CRA bought the property next door, the vacant piece with the strip on it. The new building that was bought out of general fund, we're still waiting on Wells Fargo to make a decision on where they're gonna go and how long they're gonna go.
So they're leasing.
They re-signed a lease for 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other
We
questions?
told them we'd let them out early.
Yeah.
That's okay. Just wondered if, where your time frame was. Every time we try and move City Hall,
Yeah.
it creates a big civil war, so.
David's hoping that that's beyond his,
I wanted to be out of the firing line.
it'll be the day after he leaves.
It's a retirement present, right?
Is there any more questions from the board? All right, the recommendation is for an approval for filing. There's a first and there's a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Okay. Next, is there any other matters before the board or Historic Preservation Board matters?
No.
Seeing none. Any staff updates?
No.
Motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second?
Yep.
All those in favor? All right.
Aye.
All right,
He
guys.
thinks Chris should play at the.
Any recommendations?
Somebody else.